You flip it. Welcome back. We will continue with our process this afternoon, and we'll pass it over to Mr. Wells again.
Okay, so over the break, I did get an answer on the sports hub. Those costs were taken care of by a cost, not us. Before we move on to the capital budget, I just want to ask if anyone has any thoughts, concerns, questions over the operating budget. Now would be the time to bring them forward, other than what we've already discussed.
Okay, we'll start with Councillor Connell.
So, seeing that our increase collection is up 1.3 million, do you see any chance of us putting some of that into reserves?
We are putting about $1 million of that in
Thank you.
that's ballpark.
Thank you.
I've got about 400,000 going to operating. There's a little over 6, I think, that's going to the county sewer. And there's about 100, I think, going to the Bridgetown sewer. And the allocations for the sewers, I based it on accumulated depreciation today.
That's awesome.
Awesome, thank you.
What we want to hear, reserves, anything, anybody else? Deputy Warden?
That was all I wanted to point out, was that there's multiple places in there that we're seeing money being moved to reserve, and when we go over the capital, you'll be able to see the breakdown of where and how much went into each reserve, because it is very concerning. I'll leave to the capital discussion.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we can move on.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the capital budget. I do know that I gave you the 5-year CIP, which is the capital investment plan. That's what's required by the province. In reality, our focus is on 26-27, because when we get to 27-28, those projects are likely to change. It's our best guess what we think we're going to do over the next 5 years, but the focus really should be on 26-27 of what we're going to do next year. Okay? So the first thing that I have in the presentation is these are the projects that were in the 25-26 capital budget that are not completed yet. So we've identified what the capital cost was and the percentage of them being completed. So the Bear River water system is just about done, it's about 95%. We do have a water utility rates and merger study that we're working on. That's about 50%. I don't have any percentages for IT. I wasn't able to locate any as of yet. For the municipal roads, it's about 90% done for the current year. For the Tidal Beach parking lot expansion, it's about 90%. I don't know about the Lapse Cove land acquisition. I'm not sure exactly where that's at. The multi-purpose recreation complex, that's 0%. Obviously, we haven't done anything on that. We've got 40 million in there, and of course the details say that's to start with design, so that number is likely overinflated. The design would not cost 40 million. The Hollow Mountain Road park upgrades is about 75% done. The Bridgetown Water and Sewer Granville Street design is 50%. The East End infrastructure upgrades, there's been nothing done on that. The water system upgrades countywide are about 50%. The Bridgetown Sewage Lagoon upgrade is about 50%. The electric vehicle charging stations are about 90%. And the software finance and permitting, it says 50% because we've actually paid for the financial software. So the remaining money that's left in there, and I don't have the exact dollar amount in my head right now. I think the financial software was around 200,000, so there's 200,000 still in there that's not spent for the permitting. And I believe Linda has spoke for that in the past about not finding a suitable permitting system.
Exactly.
And then of course the West Paradise Public Works Facility, there's been no work into that. So that's where we are with the current projects that are not complete from the 25-26, the current year. capital, but
Okay.
Tennis court in Bridgetown fencing, did that get finished? The tennis court? That was on last year's.
that's not on here, so it's done.
Yeah.
These are the projects that are not paid yet. Anything that was on the 25-26, if it's not here, it's done.
Okay.
Councillor Welsh?
For the Bear River water system, that 300,000, does that include the paving for Pleasant Street? Or is that,
Yeah, the remaining funds we use for the Pleasant Street paving.
okay. But I think most of the meters and everything are already installed at this point.
There's only so much room here.
Not 100%.
Any other questions? Deputy Warden?
After the presentation, are we gonna get a copy of all these slides? Or at least this one?
Yeah.
Because this one,
Details.
has a little bit more details of things, because it's not,
Yeah,
some of the carryovers didn't all make it to the 26-27.
well, this is 25-26. What you're looking at, because
Yeah.
this budget was approved already,
Yeah.
25-26.
Yeah.
That's why you don't have it in your package. It's an oversight by me, but
Yeah. But if we can get this one, it'd be nice to know where the projects lie, because we're constantly
and
asking.
I have no
where we're
issue
spending
with that
money.
as long as my superior tells me, go ahead.
All right, anybody else? Councillor Harris?
So on that comment, some of the stuff didn't make it forward into, this budget, and it's, I assume that wasn't necessarily oversight, is more of trimming down what we more so can do, or?
If it's, I mean, these are still in the budget, they're just funded last year, like this current fiscal year. So these were, and this is a bit of a discussion with you. But obviously, if we've started a project, we're gonna finish it. So, you know, there's 2 zeros on there, I think. One being a $40 million rec complex, probably needs some discussion. And the other one's East End infrastructure upgrades, I'm not even sure.
The West Paradise Public Works
And
Facility.
the public, right, which I know Paul's gonna speak to that. So those ones that we haven't done anything, we absolutely need to have some discussion around.
Ready for it.
So these ones were already approved last year in the capital budget. It's just we're not gonna have them completed by the end of March.
So if, even though we don't see, like the $40 million sports complex, even though we don't see it in this,
No,
it's still in the 5-year plan,
As of right now,
as of right now?
we have a longer conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Deputy Warden?
I just want to clarify for people that because it was started in this current year, the funds is just rolled over as a carryover.
But it doesn't show in this.
Because it's not coming out of,
Next budget.
I didn't think before I opened my mouth last time.
so on the one that I show you, the starting reserve
Yeah.
balances, excluding the 40 million,
Yeah.
and the ones that we know we're not doing, we've adjusted those balances to reflect the money.
Perfect.
That's from 25-26.
Good.
So hypothetically, we're using the balances as if everything is completed by March 31st, except for a few that we know are not going to be done.
Okay.
Okay? It gets a little confusing. I had to wrap my head around it, and I know what I'm doing. Okay, so for the 26-27 budget, essentially, this is basically all the projects that are in the next year's capital budgets. I'm not gonna get into many details with this, but Paul is gonna come up in a little bit, and she's gonna highlight the big ones. So this is the one here that starts with the estimated balance, for the reserves, that top line there. So it's basically showing you where the balances you anticipate them to be as of March 31st. And then each project, we have identified where we're gonna take the funding from to pay for them. So I'm just gonna scroll through them. Oh, do you want me to?
Do we have questions, Deputy Warden?
Yeah, so I just had a question about some of the funds on there. So it looks like in 26, 27, that we're anticipating potentially, or we're planning, that we may not get any type of provincial or federal grants. But if we're still gonna apply for it, right? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because we know, and I'm sure everybody's aware, I mean, the province has been in the news, $1.4 billion that we got cut, so we have no idea how that's gonna affect the grants.
But this is actually the way that I like seeing it, that we're forecasting, not the, because in the past, we used to forecast, oh, we're gonna get this and this. Well, it never really gave you a true depiction versus this tells us if we don't get that, this is what it's gonna look like. And if we do get it, it's a bonus, we can put that in reserve. And the other question was, what is other? Because it goes provincial, federal, other, long-term.
Yeah, the other would be more or less, it's if the community contributes money for the project. If you notice, we're in this particular slide, that's generally what it is.
Well, that's what I thought, but I just,
There are a few that I've seen that say other, and there's no explanation as to what it is, but typically that's what it would be.
Any other questions, Councilor Mayor?
I mean, an example of other could be the Max Young funds.
Just, acronym.
SCADA.
SCADA, you can probably say what it is. I know what SCADA does. It's
Supervisory, control, acquisition, data.
She's just making that up.
Typically water.
It's a technology system that connects to water and sewer so they can monitor it remotely.
the meter.
Yeah, I guess that would be,
Yeah, it's a bit.
Councilor Aguilar?
My question is this the time that we can ask you specifics on this, or are we gonna come back to
I would wait until Paula does,
That's okay.
because
That's-
she's got about 6 slides in here that
Yeah,
she's
perfect.
explaining some of the projects.
and probably answer most of our
And
questions?
if you ask me the question, I'm probably just gonna look at her and say, Paula.
No, that's good.
Anything else? Oh, Councilor Wells?
Just a quick one, I don't know if I should wait or not, but I just noticed that the Clemensville Falls has no number allocated for it. Everything else does, except for the Clemensville Falls.
Which one is it?
Clemensville Falls,
Clemensville Falls,
the falls,
new park development.
That on the next slide?
yes.
Oh.
What language?
That would be Sean's issue, but I think it's in the mix.
Is that 26, 27, or 27,
I think it's 27, 28, I think that's July.
I
One
believe,
ahead, you went to-
This says 26, 27.
New park development.
Yeah, I believe Deb and I talked about moving that to the following year.
Okay.
Clemensville Falls,
For the following year,
following year, yeah.
not this coming.
Yeah, I had seen it in this part of the presentation, but not, I just didn't see it in here, so.
It may not necessarily be in the next year yet, it's kind of a last minute.
It's a, yeah, it's a one, maybe down the road.
As I said, future years will tend to change.
Any other
Okay.
questions, councilors? I think we can move on.
This is just some other projects that are being planned to be done, and where the funding's planning to come from. And then, of course, we get to the last slide, so you can see the reserve balances are at the bottom there. For the capital reserve, we anticipate being around 422,000. The operating reserve actually represents right now the cash that's available. There is money owing to it, but we're not sure when we're gonna be able to transfer the funds back to the operating reserve.
Okay, Councilor, or Deputy Warden, sorry.
I don't know if I should talk about this now or at the end of your 2028, 2029. But I got to say that when I was going through this and looking at the numbers and then reading the report, and even before we get into budget time, I'm extremely concerned about the reserves. And, you know, I don't wanna say that in some ways it was a shock, because it wasn't. We knew the reserves probably weren't the best. But we never got a whole lot of warning signs prior to, because we were being told that it was going in there, and the fact that we never got any financials throughout the year to know. So the only time that we got financials was budget time, and they were all forecast, or audits that were 2 or 3 years behind, which then fed up. So we never really had a true understanding of what our reserves actually were. And even sometimes they were inflated, because we would say, oh, well, the feds are probably gonna pay that, or the province is gonna pay that. So it kind of fluffed the numbers a bit. This is concerning, because towns have collapsed in the past. And, you know, I foresee a lot of difficult conversations coming about this, because capital reserves is a big thing. And I am first to admit that we weren't funding our reserves the way that we should have been, because we weren't doing life cycle management planning. Every time we bought something, or every time we built something new, we didn't say, okay, this is a 10-year life cycle. In 10 years' time, we need to have money to replace that object. And we didn't. And, you know, many years of that, and here we are at this result. And it's gonna be some difficult conversations, because there's really only 3 things that you can do. You can status quo, you just put the blindfold on, let her ride. Raise taxes, cut services. That's really the only 3 options. And it's gonna be a lot of discussions over the next couple of years with this council about what do we do and how do we achieve that. Because we have, over the past several years, streamlined things, cut things, and operated in some capacities at bare bone. Now, have we spent money in areas more than others? Yeah. But I don't feel that there's a huge amount of areas that you can cut for services without truly having a huge impact on the residents that we serve. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that it's hard. And I've read this budget 5 times since I got the paper. And every time I get a little bit more depressed. Not about the operating, you know, but just around the reserves, and I just wanna come up and say that it makes me nervous. And if something big was to happen, like what happened in the town of Middleton with their water system, we're in a mess. So I just, you know, I'm just like everyone else, where I have a lot of wants. Our district has wants, everyone's got wants. But I am trying to be realistic as possible of wants versus needs. No different than doing your own family budget. It's kind of the same. We're not allowed to have a deficit. And in your home budget, you can have a deficit, but it's only a certain period of time. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that it's gonna be tough. But at the end of the day, we have to do what is right for our county. And I'm sure some people in the future aren't gonna be happy, but there's things that we're gonna have to do.
Thank you. Councillor Cranston?
Just kind of piggybacking on the concerns echoed by the deputy warden. You know, when I first got here, I had similar concerns, and I remember discussing last year about the reserves. And even, I think during our audit committee, or when we had one of our quarterly variance reports, specifically said that a lot of key performance indicators look good, but we had said they're good based on operating, but not necessarily on capital. A term that I was speaking to the director about earlier that gets beat around, and it was certainly brought up in Bridgetown at the time, is infrastructure deficit. So you could think you're going years and years after, well, we balanced our budget, we haven't had to raise taxes, we've reduced taxes, or different wins here and there, or we haven't had to borrow money or all that. But if you're in infrastructure deficit, it means the value of your infrastructure has depleted more than it should be. And one of the challenges of capital budgeting, and first off, I want to say I'm pleased with the reports we're getting from staff this time around, because I think ultimately we're going in the right direction. But it's going to come down to long-term planning and debt loads and things like that. Capital budgeting, I guess the easiest way to say it can be, you gotta be mindful of, it's what you plan to spend your money on, but it's not necessarily what you need to spend your money on. And what I mean by that is it doesn't necessarily capture all your needs. So a common one that happened in towns was park and recreations are typically popular projects among councils, and sewer and water and roads, and typically anything under the ground wasn't. So a lot of them would have good balanced budgets, but their potential bill was building up by not doing necessarily sewer capital investments and things like that. So having a discussion with the director, like coming out of the operating budget discussion, I think I was comfortable with this budget so far, because if you think about it, coming out of the operating budget, in there's 1.3 million of increases coming in from residential, which is something I've always concerned on. And out of that 1.3 of extra money coming in, we're putting 1 million of it in reserves to address this particular problem. So I think that's a good, responsible step. And I just kind of quickly spoke, if you think about the 0.3 that we're not putting in reserves, when you go through the budget, it's actually the school board and police department increases minus our savings and valley waste works out to that. So essentially, our spending on the operating has netted out, other than 300,000 that we can't control through the police and the contribution to the school board. And we're taking the extra $1 million and doing a responsible thing and putting it in reserves. So, sorry for a bit of a ramble, but I don't want to say I see the concerns, and I'm glad the deputy warden brought them up, because I think it's important that we think like that. But I'm somewhat alleviated those concerns by this year's budget that we've seen so far presented today, because I think it's being taken into consideration. And I also noticed there's a capital investment plan that's going to be presented here shortly. And that's the other key component, is identifying the needs of your infrastructure ahead of time so that you can build them into your long-term plans. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crampton. Councillor Hare?
I'm gonna speak off to what the deputy warden said. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. The way I interpret it is, and I feel the same way, and the way I interpret it is if we don't effectively manage our capital spending, we're gonna see a raise in taxes in the coming years. I come right out and say, to me, not an option.
Over here. Talk to me.
Not an option. There is no want we could ever come up with in this county that would ever justify raising taxes. It is the money from our people. And then so, if we truly fear in this room that we are gonna have to raise taxes in the next however many years, if we don't do something, then we best do something this year and control our spending then, and control our spending now. Because I will never vote to raise taxes as long as I am alive. It will never help our constituents. So when we get serious next portion, if people in this room feel as if we're gonna have to raise his taxes in the next few years, they best be coming up with ideas on lowering our spending.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
And I think you're gonna find that everybody around this table do not want to raise taxes. And that's why the words are, we need to look at the needs, the wants, we might make a list, but maybe we need to look at the needs. You know, our budget at the house doesn't make us happy sometimes, but it happens. We go to Councilor Longmire.
So, yeah, some great stuff has just been shared. You know, I always think about us being more, you know, reactive than planning. And we are an aged county with lots of infrastructure things that are going to need some serious addressing. You know, again, we need to be attractive for people to want to come and be here. The future is before us and we can't deny that. Again, it comes down to a wish list, a desired list, and we want to be able to protect, of course, you know, the core services are definitely protected, right? We know they are. But how do we stop being reactive and build that confidence so that we can plan the capital so that it will meet, you know, a desired goal, you know, be it a 3 to 5 or a 5 to 10 year plan. If we don't start, we won't, right? And so, you know, it takes me back to when I was looking at the 1.3 million and seeing that it was going to be allocated particularly to some reserves. This is a fantastic start, right? And we hadn't seen that because as the W Warden had shared, you know, we were shy on quarter variance reports and information to give us the confidence to know where we were headed. And so you can't know the questions to ask if you don't see some type of a report. So I think, you know, the sweet spot in the end is, you know, we definitely want to be stable and we do need to build reserves and we do need to face the fact that some things might not happen now, but we can start talking and planning and not being reactive. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Aguilar.
Thank you. When I first read this as well, and I saw residential taxes up 1.3 million due to cap being removed of property sold and de-transfer tax, which is kind of like a windfall. And I had made a note right next to it, this is a couple of days ago, it says, good opportunity to increase reserves. So it seems like we're all going in the same direction here. And having, in my past life as a previous councilor in a district, in another district, having a disaster that happened there was specifically due to this kind of, well, not specifically, but had a big role to play in that. And so I was glad to see that, and I just wanted to reiterate what my colleagues are saying as well, that this made me feel better this morning when I heard you say that. Thank you for, I think it was Councilor Collins that asked the question, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sort of hijack.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on then.
Okay, so the only other thing I wanted to point out was the line, second line from the bottom that shows the additions, that shows you what we're planning to put in the reserves.
Yeah.
So we're planning to put 15,000 into the IT reserve, and I'll explain that in a minute. 400,000 in the operating reserve, which is part of that 1.3 million. The 928 is the gas tax that we anticipate to get from the province because we give the same amount for a number of years. Then we have 55,000 for recreation. These are standard transfers that have been doing at least the last couple of years. The Bridgetown sewer is 84,700. About half of that was generated from revenue less expenses. But because we had that 1.3 for 1 million, I allocated a portion of that based on depreciation, depreciation to date for both of the sewer systems. That's how I allocated it. And then of course you have the 667.9 for the county sewer. I believe that one was somewhere around 171,000 before I allocated a portion of the anticipated. the 165 from the Bridgetown Water Capital and the 334,000 for the county water, those are mandated by the UARB. Whatever your depreciation is, you physically have to put it aside. That's the difference between operating and water. Water, you have to put the depreciation aside. The operating ones, or the general capital, you're not mandated to put the depreciation aside. And that's something that's pretty standard right across the country. I can tell you, I was chair of the TCA committee when tangible capital assets came out. And on that committee, I was pushing to actually have depreciation physically moved and set aside, at least some of it. And the province wasn't interested in doing that. So they left it up to councils. I'm only aware of at least one council that actually raised their tax rate to cover the depreciation when tangible capital assets came in. And that's how they fund the majority of their capital. So essentially, what I want to explain is with the IT reserve, for instance, we put 15,000. The capital budget for IT every year is between 40 and 50,000. That's not a winning formula. We plan to spend more than what we're going to set aside. There is a discussion that's going to be needed, and there needs to be a plan that won't happen overnight on how we're going to build the reserves up over time. Which means at some point in time, we do need to look at the capital budgets and look at what the needs are and what the wants are. Because the wants probably need to wait. I'll leave it at that, and now Paul is going to take over.
Okay, Deputy Warden, you have a question?
I just had one.
Okay.
It's actually for the Director of Finance. The Parks Levy Reserve, is that the reserve that was set up years and years ago that we were supposed to put a certain dollar aside that would only be used for park maintenance and stuff? I know I asked last year, I got the answer, but it's been a year and I forgot.
Isn't the parks levy the one where somebody's doing a development and they either have to put in parkland or they can pay
That's what that
5%?
Yeah.
So it goes into this levy, and I don't remember what it used for.
It is the cash that we get from developers that when they pay their park rate.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So there is limitations.
Yes, I knew that, but I
The-
just,
The next one is the one we usually put the 55,000.
oh, that's what it was, okay. So we're not anticipating, which is good, I guess, in some ways not to get an unrealistic expectation, but we're not anticipating on getting any developments finished or subdivisions finished to get that this year.
We haven't budgeted anything for it, but that's a bit of a hard thing
Oh,
to estimate.
Okay. Just we've always, in previous budgets, they put something in there. But it just goes back to what I said before when we fluffed.
Great.
All right. Thank
Let's
you.
move along. Any other questions before Mr. Mills? Oh, sorry, Councilor Crampton.
The addition to the federal gas tax reserve, is that fairly stable number, given that it's another one that's beyond our control, and when you listen to national news, sometimes it's beated around back and forth, but for this year, we think that amounts, is that a confirmed amount or an estimated
We're
amount?
anticipating it just based on, like, there is an agreement, I don't know how long it's in place for, but you get so much money, every year it's the same amount for a certain time period. I'm not aware of it expiring yet, but, I mean, with everything that's going on federally and provincially, you just don't know. And they're both facing tough decisions.
Yeah.
Based on historical amount.
Anybody else? Okay, we can move on.
Alright, so I'm just wanted to, I guess, go through the projects and what we're planning on doing this year in 2027 capital. Well, for municipal road rehabilitation, we're asking for 500,000 this year, and we're gonna look at cleaning sections of Church Street, Park Street, Rectory, and Anastasia from all the parks. This money will just be for like the roadway itself, and won't include the sidewalks in those areas. For Bridgetown Sewer Lagoon. The system assessment report that was completed in 2023, the opinion of probable cost for that project at that time was 3.3 million. So we're on track to complete that project within that estimate. Approved funding for last year was 2.5, which was split 50-50 with the province. So we'll need an additional 700,000 to complete that project, and we're looking to have that one completed by late summer this year. The emergency generators, 200,000 for this year. We're looking at installing lift stations or installing generators at the lift station hub. So we're looking at one in Deep Brook, one in Bear River, and 2 sites in Granville Ferry. Those are the most critical ones in those areas. Currently, we have 2 tow behind trailers with generators and smaller portable ones, and we need to bring them to those locations during power outages to avoid overflows. So by installing the permanent generators in some of the key locations, we'll reduce the risk of overflows in those areas and save time and resources. Bear River water system at 50,000 is to complete the requirements for Department of Environment related to the permit to operate. So that's for the source water protection plan and the duty study. To reduce the cost of the duty study, we're going to complete all the required, well, most of the required sampling and testing in-house instead of paying for consultants to do that work for us. And we're going to start that. We're ready to start that work as soon as we get the SCADA system online, which should be in the next couple of weeks, or the next 2 weeks. We're looking for $100,000 for public works upgrades in Granville Ferry. So currently in Granville Ferry, there's no heated storage equipment, or heated equipment storage. And now that we're plowing snow at 4 miles apart with our own forces, we're storing the plow, the truck, and the tractors all in the dome, which is also our salt storage. In order to have the equipment storage area where we can de-ice equipment, we're proposing to insulate the dome, add some heat, not a lot of heat, not to have like 20 degrees or anything, just enough to get the ice off the equipment when we need to, and that'll make it easier for when we need to make repairs on the equipment or change the attachments.
I can ask a question on that right now? Okay.
Yes, sure.
So we're currently plowing this year right now, and the vehicles are being stored right now in the same building unheated?
Yeah.
And, so we're managing this year then, correct?
Barely.
Without heat, so, I guess the question is, how are we managing now, and why is this a necessity going forward?
Well, right now, like when the equipment gets iced up, we don't have anywhere to get it off. So we got just that small bay in the shop where we can bring the tractors in, but we don't have anywhere to put the truck. So when it gets like really bad, we have to bring it like down to Bridgetown and try to get it in. And so
That's what's happening now, is when it ices up, it's going to Bridgetown too. Okay.
All right, any others? No? Okay.
water system upgrades at Margaretville. So now we have the approval to withdraw water from the well that site that we use in the past for water supply. Initial testing has indicated that this well is sufficient to provide enough additional water to the system during dry weather periods to meet the demands of the customers. So in order to utilize this well, there will need to be some work to install the pump, flow meters, control valves, and piping to the existing system. We're going to complete as much of that in-house as we possibly can. SCADA upgrades.
Oh, sorry, is you Warden?
Yeah.
I got involved there.
I was gonna save a lot of my questions at the end, but just this one around Margaretville. We spent the money to drill a test well. Before we drilled that test well, did we look at the option of this older well? Or did we just drill before looking? I know you weren't the director then.
I'm not, I can't answer.
Okay. I just know we spent a lot of money drilling a well to nowhere. And we got some water, but not enough.
Don't even start, man.
I know, I was just asking, I knew I couldn't get the answer, but.
Councillor Agenbar is first, if you wish to speak after Councillor Conlon, you'll be up.
My question is, when you say we're gonna be doing this work in-house, I assume you're talking about using our own labor. Well, where would that labor come from? Who would be doing
Our crews,
that? Like, for instance, maybe some of the Bridgetown crew?
100%, because our cabin operator is stationed at Bridgetown.
Okay, thank you.
They should be.
He's trying to get over.
You're up, your turn. I told you it was.
I'm still disappointed that we spent money drilling a well where we've been drilling wells for the last 25 years and got little response. There was an enormous dairy farm at the top of the hill that has abundance of water, but yet previously someone asked couple locals, and they said, oh no, I had to drill 400 feet and I haven't got much water. So anybody that's of senior age in that area keeps telling us and keeps laughing at us that we keep drilling holes at the bottom of the mountain. They keep telling us the water is at the top of the mountain. But for some reason, that parcel that DOT had on the corner of Benfinny and Forest Glade, that they offered it to us for free. I don't know who he asked. He asked a well driller. I didn't know if the well driller drilled wells in the area. We never got no information back, but all of a sudden, oh, we're not gonna drill nothing there. So they go back down to the site, which the people laugh at us, and drill another hole. And we get nothing. Dry dust. So hopefully bringing the well that's already there on par will help. We never ever got a report back on how much the taxpayers paid, no matter if it's through the water system or through the residential tax rate or whatever. But we still didn't get any answer on how much did it cost this county this past summer to haul water from Cornwallis to Marcusville. And that's the sad part, is that we spend, I'm assuming, seeing the truck go by 2, maybe 4 times a day, on the average probably $1,000, $1,500 a load would be cheap. I'm saying it could be in the thousands. And it's a shame that we spend that money every summer. We've spent that money in the last few years, but we can't come up with a solution to fix it. That's sad.
Thank you. Anybody else? You testing the water? Are you testing the water? What is it? Okay, yes? Yes, okay.
I'm
Councillor
just
Hare.
assuming by the general consensus though, this hopefully is solved now by what you're saying, hopefully. I'm hoping to go back to the residents of Marysville this summer and drink their water with them, I'm hoping. The only other question I'll ask is, I doubt we anticipated the cost of trucking water and drilling wells last year in Margarettsville, and I must have missed it. I'm just curious if you can point out in the budget where that might have come off, or does it show it in here where that money come from?
I don't know what was charged.
I would think that the trucking would have went to operating the water, yeah, it was in the,
It's not in this budget.
no.
It was in, I mean, it would be in this current year's, but not in the one that we presented this morning, because we're not anticipating doing that again. Yeah, but we can find out, the details as much as we can.
Yeah, just making sure it wasn't in this document, and I happened to miss it, so we haven't seen it yet, no.
No, that's not in this document. Councillor
I
Longmire?
don't know if this is correct here, but, you know, when I think about that area going dry, trucking water continuously, and it's not just because last summer was a dry summer, it has historically been an issue. So again, we're still being reactive, right? So I would ask that question around climate adaptation and how and where does that fit in a budget that we're planning for those unexpected issues, right? Because that is, even though it has historically been happening, it's only going to increase, and it's only gonna start happening elsewhere too, right, in our county. We don't know what we're going to need, and we came through a wildfire, and so I'm hoping, you know, that somehow that we're gonna even look at, you know, where do we put that, where do we get money from, and how do we allocate it? Is it another reserve, is it, just leave it there,
I know.
because it's serious,
Mhm.
right?
Wildfire and drought going on there. Any other councils? Seeing none? Yeah.
SCADA upgrades. So to continue with tying more of our critical infrastructure to our current SCADA system, we've identified some infrastructure that was not previously included. This includes the Highway 201 booster station that services Hillside Drive, and some of the backup generators that have already been installed. So by having this infrastructure monitored in the SCADA system, we'll receive alerts in advance of trouble at these locations and can send personnel to address the issue, potentially reducing damage to other infrastructure to our customers. Alden Hooley water connection, so this is just $35,000. This is just to make the physical connection of the existing line to the new line that we installed on the 201 last year, and installing the water meters. Before we do that, we'll have to get approval to extend the county water system in this area from the UARD. And there are future phases of this project that will involve replacement of the existing line. So this one doesn't upgrade the line, it's just connecting our new system to the system that they currently have. That's all that this one is. Bridgetown Library, there's some cracking on the back wall and one of the back corners of the building, so we're just looking for $50,000 to repair those damages to make sure that we maintain the structural integrity of the building. Accessibility upgrade, we just put $50,000, and that's just for minor improvements throughout the county, through our buildings and our facilities, just to help improve accessibility. So that would be like ramps and rails and signage and those sort of things.
30,
Oh, 30,000?
it's on our list, 30.
Trying to increase.
The admin building, so we all know that we need some additional space for our current future staff in this building. So what we're looking at for this project is to have a full assessment complete of the current building, the systems, their expected remaining life, and anticipated costs for upgrades, as well as provide recommendations and preliminary costs for additional space, whether that'll be through renovations, additions, or a new build, so that we can make an informed decision on the most economical path forward that will address our current and future needs.
Question on that?
Yes, Councilor Harris?
So that $100,000 is for nothing else other than an assessment and a recommendation.
Correct.
I'm just curious on, what would be the kind of professional that would carry out that work?
It would probably be like a team of people that would, from different disciplines that would look at the systems. We'd put it in for an RFP for a building assessment, and then they would, put together a team, probably like a large consulting firm, and do the assessment of the building and be able to provide some recommendations for.
An engineer would be, engineers are the primary people that would be, but there'd be, again, as Paula said, there'd be a bunch of things to look at.
Okay, any other questions? Councilor Cranston and Councilor Welch.
So, had there not been any of these engineering reports done in recent years? Or has there been?
Not that I'm aware of.
No one here to know.
So there was a minor one, but it was just based on office reconfiguration
Yeah,
and
true.
bathrooms, and the rest was done internally by an engineer that we had.
On his own.
on his own.
It's just so kind of.
So, no,
So it's not,
So I would just add to that, so there's not been an assessment
No.
done. There's been people that have come in and looked at different aspects, like this council chambers. I know that there was a firm came in, I think they were engineers, that talked about, what would happen, could you knock down this wall?
yeah,
It's not an assessment, it's not well, what would that do to the other systems, what do you have to look at with our ceilings here, accessibility, safety concerns, all of these things that have been brought forward.
for my
Yeah.
second point on that. What, oh,
No,
was it my turn?
okay.
Sorry, I just assumed
He-
the point.
he's let you
Sorry.
get cutting.
I just wanted to say that, I think this is great, and 100,000 is a really good conservative number for someone that works in that industry. And the fact that we're doing this, we're not putting the cart before the horse. And they may come back saying, you know what? These are some things you could do with the existing building envelope that no one thought about. I use these types of contracts constantly. And it's a huge team of professionals, of architects and engineers and engineer techs and engineers of all types of disciplines. And they really come at it and look at the system we have. And even if out of this, we get recommendations on what we can do even for a heating system to modernize that to save some fuel, because from someone now that helps the warden signing all the checks and the invoices, and we see the oil bills and all that stuff, it's scary and astronomical. So this is something that's definitely needed, and it'd be nice if they came back and said, you know what, building envelope, we can do all this. And they're the true professionals, and at least then we have a piece of paper that's stamped that says this is what we can do, and these are the costs that it could be if you pick option A, B, C, or D. So I would definitely say there's value within this project.
Thank you. Councilor Walsh?
I would just echo, no problem. You said what I was gonna say anyway, so I appreciate that vote to you. It's just whether or not we had the engineering studies already shelved somewhere that we can pull out and have a look at. Or, I guess, yeah, I think this is good value, good place to start. As well as, I guess, next year, we might see, after the report comes back to council on this, we might see next year's budget somewhat reflect some of those upgrades that are suggested.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Councilor Aguilar?
Just on that theme, just to put it out there, sometimes the results come back and indicate that maybe it's not good to spend that money on this facility.
Oh,
But other than that, at least we'll have the answer, and that's the whole point of this.
Correct.
No sense throwing good money after bad, but as Deputy Warden said, if you can get away with some kind of renovation that works in the very short term for not a lot of money, then that's a decision we'll be, hopefully this council will be making. Hopefully it doesn't go too much beyond this council in that respect.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Recreation infrastructure upgrades. So this money is for Raven Haven, that's the replacement of wraparound deck and steps to include accessibility features and accessible pathways from the parking lot to the beach and jetty, and Jubilee Park accessible playground. That's to replace the existing playground or play area that's currently in that park.
Question? Councilor Connell?
The only thing I don't like about it is the word potentially. Potentially, how much is Raven Haven gonna get out of the 200,000? If the Park at Jubilee takes 3/4 of it, then Raven Haven's gonna get zilch. So I would prefer to see that split and a positive number put on each one, because we're talking about recreation for kids in all areas. And believe it or not, we all have the same amount of constituents, plus or minus 10. So I feel that the people out that use Ravenhaven deserve just as much as the Jubilee Park gets. So I would like to see that split, that it should be split. Because otherwise, like I said, if the playground equipment goes on and above and spends most of the money, then Ravenhaven gets nothing.
The-
vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah, we can vice versa that to them.
Yeah.
It is-
Whichever project gets done first.
It is split, the potentially there just relating to like Ravenhaven, this money's to potentially Ravenhaven and potentially the natural playground. So the natural playground, like the budget for that is $100,000. And the budget for Ravenhaven is $100,000. We put them in the $200 line, but it is $100,000 for each project.
The potentially is more about, hopefully it's not $100,000, but
But the way I read it was potentially, if one
it is
spends
split.
it all, the other one gets very little. So if it's meant 100,000 on each one, I have no issue with it.
Okay, Deputy Warden?
Thank you. I do agree with Councillor Connell that it would have been nice to have them separate, 100%. But I also, with this one, I kind of want to point out that $100,000 is listed under other, which is in kind. So the group itself is kind of their little community group, I shouldn't say little, a large community group, is set up on their own to want to work with us and raise a lot of funds.
Which, for Ravenhaven or for?
No, for Jubilee
For
Park. So really, potentially Jubilee Park might not be, that portion might only be $50,000 from the municipality, and you know, like, we just, I don't know what all the numbers are, but I just want to point out the fact that we are anticipating, and I believe we will get to 100,000, because we're probably close to 70, 80,000 now, that this shows that the community supports it and they want it, because they're putting their own money in on it. So it'd be nice to see projects like that.
But it'd be nice to see it split,
100%.
to prove that.
No, exactly, so I do, that's why I said I agree that it'd be nice to have them as separate line items.
Yeah, you did say that. All right.
Do you want me to comment on, we've been working with the community group in Bridgetown on the Jubilee accessible playground. So it's basically a replacement, but it's to add a lot of accessibility. Well, you can't do much for 100,000, as you well know. So this project will have a $180,000 financial envelope with the community. We're gonna attract another 50,000. Community's putting in 30,000, already 10,000 commitment from the Lions Club.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, we are searching out and finding other funding opportunities, because with accessible playgrounds, we can search out, we just haven't had the opportunity to do that. So your commitment would be $100,000, and the community and other sources will come up with the rest. But we'll cap it at 180 for sure. But again, you can't do much. In Ravenhaven, just to give you an example, at Nicktop, we spent $190,000 in Nicktop. Community came up with 30,000 of that, which was fairly significant. But just the same, these things just cost a lot of money. So, and Ravenhaven, the original agreement was 100 for Jubilee, 100 for Ravenhaven. And again, one might be a little less in the end, and one might be a little more. We don't know.
On my list here, I have, thank you, and then Ryan. I have Councillor Hare, then Councillor Cranton. Oh, were you done?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So me?
Yes.
From what I just heard, from my understanding, you're saying that we budgeted 100 for Raven Haven and 100 for Jubilee separately?
Yes, they were separate.
Because the way I see it in this budget, it's $100,000 for both Raven Haven and Jubilee, and $100,000 is coming from other.
It's $200,000.
Why is it under the other?
$100,000 coming from other and $100,000 from capital reserve.
So there isn't 100,000 then for
Each.
each?
It's not adding up.
It's just conflicting from what I just heard. From what I just heard, it was said that it was 100,000 from the municipality for both Jubilee and Raven Haven, with the additional 100 from other. But in our charts, we only see 100 total from the municipality for both, with the other 100 coming from other.
Yeah, we'll double check on that. It's it should be $200,000 in the capital budget. So
From
really
capital
that-
reserves.
From capital reserves, yeah.
So that's half of what should be in that line then.
Yeah, I believe so. So what we'll double check is, to Director Ryan's comment, the total project at Jubilee would be, I think she said 180-ish. But again, I know I signed a funding request the other day to the province, a grant, so the intent is that we would only put it in that grant. Our commitment was a maximum of $100,000. So we'll make sure that that's reflected.
So with the correction then, that would put our estimated balance of our capital reserves down to $277,000.
Yeah, possibly. We'll have to double check the math and the formula in the Excel, but.
This all goes back to, what do we want to see in our capital reserves going forwards?
Yeah, go on, yeah.
'Cause
Okay.
Again, it's,
And that was my concern with one project taking all the money.
Yeah, that's certainly not the intent.
Okay. You done? Councillor Francis?
Yeah, I was gonna ask with 100, but that's been answered, so kind of come to the same conclusion. I think the budget needs to split the two out so it becomes clearer, but looking at it right now, the total project costs, where it says 200,000, that first column, is actually 280, because it's 180 for Jubilee Park and 100 for Raven Haven, and the capital reserve contribution would have to be 200,000, and the other is currently at 80, based on what I heard today.
Yes.
So
So we're missing 80.
We'll review it and bring you back the number when we go to approve.
thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Cranston was the last one on my list. Okay, no? You can continue.
Parks and trails upgrades. So I guess in the last 5-year plan, there was some money earmarked for a Cornwall's Park gazebo. So with the recent improvements that we've made to the Tidal Beach Park, we're looking to repurpose or to reprofile the Cornwall's Park gazebo to improvements to parks and trails throughout the county to better serve all the users. So under this, we're looking to update DLAPSCO wilderness trails, platforms and boardwalk improvements. So there was an inspection completed on those platforms and boardwalk in 2025. The report made several recommendations for repairs to the waterfall platform. So this project aims to complete those necessary repairs. Hollow Mountain Park, 15,000. That's to complete the park within the trail, complete the trail within the park and finish the landscaping. That project started last year. Monroe Lake Landing is for new park development and includes the creation of a boat launch, a small parking lot, and accessible picnic site. And Blue Spring Pines Park is to install accessible parking and picnic areas.
Okay, we have a couple questions, Councillor Connell and then Councillor Agenbar.
Well, I feel we haven't even got the ink dry on purchasing the Monroe Lake thing. And I feel that Clemens Vale Park, we've had in ownership for several years, that we should be doing that first. But I also see last year in the capital, there was funding to fix up the boat park in Springfield, and we got a wish-wash broom swipe, and that was it. The engineer took it on himself to say, no, it's useless to put a dock out there because the water's so low, lots of rocks. Last year was a perfect year to get rid of most of the rocks. They could have walked out and carried them out of there. So we got nothing. And I'm going back to the same old thing, is that I have the same amount of constituents paying taxes as everyone else. And the only thing I see, 4 years out, we're gonna spend $20,000 on fixing up the boat launch at Shannon River. 4 years time, my taxpayers are gonna pay for another 4 years. They lost nothing last year, and we're getting nothing for 4 years. I think to jump and fix up a park that we haven't even got the ink dry on the paperwork is getting a little bit fast forward. I think my 20,000 at least out in year 4 should be coming this year to fix up the park at Shannon River. For one thing, 2 vehicles gets down there, 2 good-sized half-tons get down there. The third one, you're gonna run into somebody getting in there to turn around. Last year, I had to argue to get staff to go out and cut the trees because the bushes were beating the mirrors off the vehicles. We need to pay attention to some of our rural areas that need recreational fix-ups. And I'm not saying that's not a good project, but for all of a sudden, we haven't even purchased, we haven't even got it in our name yet, and we've got money in the budget to build a park, but we're neglecting the parks we got. So, I feel that, that should be put out till next year, until the ink's dry on the paperwork, and we can look and staff can go out and look and kind of half design where they want a parking lot and blah, blah, blah. But I think that we should be putting a bit of money in the Clemensville's Falls, and I feel that my park deserves to have something where we had our money taken away from us last year. Also in the capital last year, or in the budget last year, we are gonna be guaranteed new signs at the beginning of our county.
That's true.
We got a better sign representing Delap's Cove at the end of Parker Mountain Road than the little dinky sign we got out at our county that says, welcome to Annapolis. It doesn't even say welcome to Annapolis County. It's a disgrace. When you drive through the Cherryfield Road, there's a little sign that long and that wide that says Annapolis County. It's in the bushes, and if you're a deer, you can see it. But you damn well can't see it in the vehicle unless you got your eyes peeled off the road. So, again, our rural communities are not being used appropriately. And if we're all paying the same amount roughly, I heard before, well, where is the tax rate being generated? Well, I can tell you, I'd be up for that challenge. Because when you see $1.5 million homes being built on the lakes, and what they're getting out of their taxes, because most of them can't get garbage picked up, it's a shame that we're not considering that we're a county-wide, county whole in our budgets. So, I would like to see that 25,000 put over onto Clemensville Falls, and I would like to see come forward to do something to the park in Shannon River. It needs to be looked at if we can infill and make it larger, because I'm out there a lot, and like I say, when you've got kayakers using that system, and 2 vehicles gets in there, the next ones have to drive by.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Because it's a congested little, dinky little parking lot.
Is that an error
Okay.
in Clemensville?
Here,
Can I do it?
hold on. Yes, certainly.
Thank you, Warden. Just a couple of things. So the Clemensville that one, Director Ryan and I talked about that one. There is money in her operating budget to do an assessment. That project, we know it's gonna be a pricier one. I think we had $80,000 or $90,000 to do the work in there because of the nature of that park, so we know it's gonna be a bit more complicated. There is a plan to do the assessment plan this year, so that following year we know exactly what's happening. I'll come back to on the Monroe Lake, I mean, so again, this is why we're here. If council doesn't want to have this on something on you say you don't want it on there, and everybody agree, and it comes off. I mean, it's not that's fine. And then on sorry, Councillor Connell, what's the name of the park where you had mentioned about the,
Shannon River
Shannon
Canoe
River.
Launch or Park.
okay, so is there,
It was on there.
so is there still money in the,
That wasn't Shannon River, that was, Lake Pleasant.
so was that last year?
Lake Pleasant was last year, we were supposed to spend some money out there, and I don't even know if we got a load of gravel.
Well, there's still plans to do some work there before the end of this fiscal. So I'm not familiar with the other park, the Shannon River.
And I mean,
Was that the previous year?
no, that's in year 4 of the long-term 5-year plan.
Sorry, in the future capital.
In the future capital. So I would just soon see 20,000 brought forward for that park for this year and do an assessment and a plan on the Monroe one for next year.
Okay.
Because these existing parks, we're not even making them accessible. We got them and we brag about them, and then you can't even, most times you can't even see the sign as long as anything else, but.
I would say though, if we do a park now, we have to make it accessible to a certain degree, so anything, moving forward, so that, obviously that costs a lot more too, so. You all know Director Riot, she would like to have 100 parks. I'm there saying, we have to be very fiscally responsible when it comes to what we have, because we have a lot of fantastic parks now, which we have to make sure that we're maintaining too. Like even the 2 assessments that we've had done, Raven Haven and the Delapse Cove, like, those are safety things, like we gotta replace decks, right? Those are things we really, if we're gonna have that park, we don't have a choice, we have to address it.
But that's what I'm saying about this little park, it's getting nothing, it's got nothing, except for the new sign that was there maybe 7-10 years ago, they put up a new sign. That was done 30 years ago, 25 years ago. It's had,
Shannon River property is very limited to what you have. We only have a small sliver of property, so the parking lot pretty well. It can be expanded slightly. It could be made accessible, which is what the intent of that, because a lot of people stop and probably have a snooze between the valley and so on, or have, launch their boats. But it's only designed for a canoe launch, because you can't get a boat out through the Narrows, and then you have a whole dam structure. So it was only designed for the canoe, the kayak, a small boat to get in and fishing, because really you can't get a truck down there. As a matter of fact, we don't have the land. And if you do, you've got a very steep structure to try to deal with, so you would be doing it. But what we can do is expand it, find a place for a nice picnic table, and we can make it accessible, which it's not right now, so.
and that's all I'm asking for, is the parking lot to be suitable, that if people are coming in there, because if 2 vehicles are in there using it as kayaks, there's no room for somebody to come in and sit and enjoy look at the water or have a picnic or something like that. It's strictly, the parking area is too small and condensed. I'm not asking for the safety of getting into the water, because that has challenges all on its own. It'll probably, I don't even know how you'd ever make that accessible. But the parking lot, what I'm talking about is that it's too congested, too small, And if there's area there for infill that could be made the parking lot better, like I said, there's $20,000 4 years out to spend on it. Then why aren't we doing that now to fix up a park we have versus something that we're getting? That's my concern.
All right, thank you. We have a list of people here. And at the end result, I'm just gonna be asking if we're proposing motions. So we'll have a break at the end after Madame is finished, so that we can think if you have motions to prepare. Does that work out for you guys?
Yep.
So Agambar, Deputy Warden, Hare, yes, Councillor Welsh, Councillor Oxner, and Councillor Harding. There's your order.
I had my name in there too.
Oh, sorry.
I was back there somewhere. It doesn't matter, I'll look
Fire
at it.
goes where?
I'll just sum it all up, because then I'll say it.
Just to say, I agree.
go past.
I agree with that, no, okay.
Cherry pick.
Agambar,
I'll be very brief, it might be a moot point. So my query was on the Monroe Lake, does the 25,000 include the 10 or 12,000 we talked about for legal? Because, okay, so that was my query, but as I said, it may be a moot point by the end of this conversation.
okay, done. Deputy
That
Warden,
answers my question.
okay. It does not.
I'll be quick.
Good.
You won't hear me say this very often. I 100% agree with Councillor Collins.
There, you just said what to say.
I say that about
February 19th.
So, yeah, so he has really good points. And I know that Parks and Rec is important to us, but we also have to slow down. I was a little surprised when I saw Monroe Lake on here, because I remember asking when we had the discussions about buying that property or taking the donation, or however you want to say, that we don't have plans to do something with it right yet. It's for the future. Well, this seems awfully quick. And I would like to see us, when the motion time comes,
Yes,
to change some monies around to deal with, is it called salmon? Is that what it is? Shannon, sorry. Shannon River, and do the fixing up of the safety issues. And, but the Monroe Lake, I think that can wait.
okay,
I would just like to see us spend a little bit more time on what we already have existing. I know the rec department probably doesn't like us saying that, but
no.
I think we need to cool our jets a bit, look at what we already have existing. And I do agree that some of our areas in the outskirts, well, not just the outskirts, like even my district,
Yeah,
when you think of Port Lauren, Hampton, all those places, that they don't always get the heat and lights that they deserve. So there's been many, many years that we've been talking about doing something out towards Springfield. And I really think that we really should. I used to camp out there, so I know exactly, the mess it is. So I 100% agree, and when the time comes, I'll support making some changes.
perfect. Counselor, don't hold your breath too many times. Right, Connor? I heard that. Okay, let's make it brief so that Madame can finish over there. Councillor Hare is next.
Yeah, and I'm gonna limit my questions and comments up until, because we've only gotten to Monroe Lake Landing, and
Right.
I see we still got some stuff left here.
Exactly.
So it's just the, again, on Clemensville Falls, in this budget, there's nothing accounted for.
Hmm.
And in this budget, there's $80,000 accounted for. No, you just talked about that for a minute, so what is accounted for in this budget this year,
In operating, there's a plan.
in operating?
Right.
So it
it's
needs
not a
to,
capital.
the next draft, it'll be added to,
No, it won't be added to capital plan, it's in operating.
it's already in. Okay.
We'll do the planning
All right.
this year, and then we'll look at finding out all the costings from an accessibility point of view, and present a plan to council for capital next year.
Good enough.
Okay. Councilor Oxner,
Well, it's my turn.
yes. I'm trying to make it right.
There you go.
Wait, not bad. I'd just like to voice my opinion. I would like to put a pause on any new park development. Let's look after maintaining the parks we have. Going forward, I would like to see a maintenance plan in place, so we are not getting to, this is at end of life,
Or close to.
or close to. And I would also request that we look at alternate materials from just wood for building these decks. I know composite is more expensive, but I think in the long run, it might be worth the investment. Yeah, so, anyway, just my 2 cents, so I'd like to pause any new development and let's look after what we have.
Perfect. Next, I have Councilor Hartley.
Yeah, I just would say, just for council's information, along that number 8 corridor, there is some conflict going on with people wanting to use those waterways and using our Annapolis County guidebook, because the halls in that area are getting people parking there and taking their canoes across. And I've actually had some of the members of the local halls contact me and say, hey, you know, there's people parking here, they're blocking the mailboxes, they're making it so we can't access our mail. And there's also been issues with people parking on private property and on private roads. So it's something that I've heard in that area, just so everyone's aware, which is kind of why I was excited that we may have an actual spot that we put on the map and say, hey, you know, you want to access this lake system because it's a very popular area. It's a very popular spot to put in. Okay, there's a parking lot there. You know, it may only be 4 or 5 vehicles, but that's enough. And they're not going to be blocking off people's mailboxes or blocking people's roads. And I've seen it myself. I went out and saw that there was a vehicle parked there for 3 days on a private laneway, and someone had gone canoeing and they'd gone camping for the long weekend or whatever, and they left their vehicle on a private piece of land, right? So, so there is a little bit of an issue there. I just wanted to make council aware of that, and I hear everyone's arguments, and I understand them. I'd also agree with Councillor Connell that if they took a little bit of money to widen up the parking lot at the Shannon Park location, I think that makes good sense to me. And of course, in relation to the Clemensvale Falls, I have had some discussions with Director Ryan on that, and she has money in her operating budget to look at that and take that into consideration. I think with the Monroe Lake one, we accepted the donation. We're doing the survey work already for the landowner there as part of the donation. So I almost wondered if, when I saw this in here, I thought, well, they're probably wanting to do the surveying all at once and get it all done and get it moving. That was my assumption when I looked at it, and I didn't get to have an in-depth conversation with Director Ryan about that. But that would be my assumption, that instead of trying to split it up and say, well, we'll just do half of it now and half of it later, have the surveyors there, survey the site, get things going. But I just wanted to make council aware that there has been, nothing serious, but there has been some discussions and some conflicts with people going out there and using the areas. I just wanted to make you aware.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah.
Councilor Longmire.
So much of it has already been said.
And,
But I have to agree with Councillor Connell. You know, we should care for what we have already in place. And if it doesn't meet a particular standard, or it's not inviting, it's overgrown, it would be remiss for us to think that it's okay to strike up a brand new park somewhere, right? It would send a very poor message to that community that, you know, it's not as interesting or we don't see it as important. I don't want to see that be our going forward. And of course, as we entertain change and you know, knowing that accessibility is before us and we have to meet those standards, you know, by 2030, you know, we know that we're going to have to. So I just feel that we need, it just seems like a very strong consensus to, you know, clean up and a maintenance plan strategy on what it looks like every year to keep these places vibrant and in good repair, and then focus on the Monroe and places like that. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you very much. I think we can move on now.
No.
Mhm.
Closing argument.
Because
was close.
there's a
Is
default
Mary on there?
in the math.
In the map,
Ooh, math.
It's
Matt,
got on Monroe and Whispering Pines, it's got 25,000 and 20,000, but yet it shows 25,000 out of the capital and 25,000 out of Park Levy. 20,000 for Whispering Pines out of capital and 20,000 out of,
yes, but we
so
weren't
there's
there,
40,000 and there's 50,000.
So,
we weren't there yet.
so that's, to be clear, that was to be moved to the Parks levy, and taken out of the capital reserve.
So
Both
struck-
of them.
Yeah, both of those were, and this was part of our discussion, because I had some of the same discussion that you all just had. That, you know, we have to be very fiscally conservative when it comes to parks, and we have to watch that capital reserve. So the discussion was that it would be moved to the parks levy, which that's really the only thing we can use parks levy money on.
Yeah, and it's already there, so
Can we
struck-
strike those out?
so we strike out the ones under,
Under
Yeah.
the capital reserve, yes.
yeah,
Take the movie.
let's strike those out and then we
So
can
we
move
save
on.
45,000?
There you go. I
You
have
say
this
minutes.
discussion.
Oh, we just X.
Yeah, the total price was supposed to be 25 and 20, not 50 and 40, it was 25 and 20 to come out of the parks levy.
All right,
And that's removing it.
Everybody got that? Councillor Welsh.
I didn't have an opportunity to speak on that last issue, if I may.
I'm sorry, Councillor Welsh, it was Councillor Longmire's fault.
Chat later.
I put her in the wrong place, that's what happened.
Sorry.
People talk twice?
Uh,
Oh, you wanna add it? Oh, okay.
There's a few things, I've never actually been into Shannon River, but I look forward to seeing it. I think hopefully we can find something within our budget to help you fix that up. And we've spoken about caring for the things that we already have, and I think we've had that canoe route in off Monroe Lake for years and years. We use it 3-4 times a year, and every time we go, it's getting harder and harder to find a place to park. The halls are less welcoming. You can't park at Milford House anymore. And so there's people parking on the side of the road. That's a trailhead that we've had in place for a long time. And that's kind of how I see this park, is the trailhead. It's not just a destination unto itself. It's accessing into a much broader part of our county that we don't have access to unless we create some sort of trailhead for it. So even, I know the ink's barely dried on it, but this isn't something that we've had in place for a long time. We've just never had the access to it the way.
This is part of the trailhead for the canoe Annapolis County guidebook, so you should look and see where this fits into that whole system too.
Exactly.
It's
That's what I'm saying.
part of that canoe, Shannon is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I've never actually checked it out.
It's part of going all up through and going out to Molly's and coming
Is it?
all the way across.
Well,
It's a big portion of
I might
the,
have to put in there a couple times this year.
We're gonna have to put you both in a canoe, go have a trip. And your name was on my list, I just don't know what happened.
That's okay.
Sorry.
And I know when I go down Quarry Road there quite often, Clemensville Falls, I always see cars parked around the side of the road, and there's a well-beaten trail back to that falls. If you haven't been there, it's a beautiful little falls worth exploring. So I do look forward to that being developed as well at some point. I'm a big wreck guy. I love all that stuff, so.
Good, thank you very much, I apologize. No,
It's okay.
as I said, your name was there, I don't know what happened. Blamed it on Longmire, I didn't complain. Councilor
Just looking
Ackenberg?
for a little clarification here for some of the discussions we were talking about a moment ago about new park development. My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Director Ryan, is, as my esteemed colleague just said,
We do the chair first.
okay. My understanding was Monroe Lake was already, in our parks, part of it, right? Don't we have an access to the lake there? Is that, it's not, so this would be brand new to us? Okay, because my understanding is that we were already using it and it was already in our, okay. So that's the clear, I was just looking for that clarification.
Okay,
Thank you very
perfect.
much.
Now,
Well,
Ms. Ryan,
you're
would-
somewhat right, because if you look at Canoe Annapolis County, we thought that was owned by Department of Transportation. So we put it in our guidebook years ago, and this is our third edition of Canoe Annapolis County since 2015, so it's a very popular area. And so, yes, it's an informal roadway in there, and people park one vehicle, and then they launch, and then they go into, so Monroe will lead into Fisher, and then you can go to 11 Mile, or if you want to go up to the Milford system, which is going to Boot Lake. But for the most part, it gets you into Fisher Lake, and it gets you into 11 Mile really easily. So that's why it's pitched there. You're right, we're just getting it, the ink hasn't dried, for sure. We just thought it would be a great opportunity to be able to see if we could get some funding. I also sent a inquiry off to Nova Scotia Community Culture and Heritage to see if they would help fund a new park like that, so we're waiting to hear back. But yes, they said tentatively, if it includes accessibility, they would do that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ryan. So say yes, no. You're gonna ask another
I
question?
wasn't advocating that we go ahead and proceed with this expenditure at this point. I was just clarifying the fact that I thought it was already a park that we had and not, quote, a new one. So I tend to agree with my colleagues in respect to what we're talking about in terms of like the Shannon River project and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
want a clarification on that, it was already on our radar. Not-
Perfect, thank you very much. We might get to the bottom of that, and I'll try not to make boo-boos over here, so. You're up.
Sidewalks, so we've identified 3 areas that we need to
there over the last number of years, a lot of undulations and stuff, and it's not uncommon for someone to have a fall coming through town in the summertime when tourists aren't familiar with it. And there's been occasions where we've had to call ambulance and stuff to come and get help. So it's great to see this in the budget for this year, and it'd be wonderful. I think, are we moving right from the bridge right to the Oakdean? Is that the plan, or is it just
No, it's just from the Oakdean down towards,
Upper River Road?
yeah, Upper River Road.
Okay, well, there's a little section there that we might have to put in a future budget. Depending on, it's kind of nebulous as to who owns it, right? It falls within the highway right away, within TIR's right away, but we have to figure out how to remedy that, because it's still an ongoing issue, so. No, it's great that we're moving forward with this. Thank you.
Okay, next. Who's next? Argamar. Councilor Argamar.
The Granville one, that's the one by the old high school, right in front of the high school, Granville East, by the sports hub?
Yeah, right in front of the sports hub. Yeah.
That's an absolute must, because I'm sure that we've had a lot of damage done to our plows going up and down, that is really rough there.
It's really bad.
Just wanted to make that point.
It's wicked, is it? Oh, okay. Thank you.
It'll
Anybody
save
else?
us money to do that.
Councilor Hardy.
Yeah, I agree with what Councillor Welch said, because I've had multiple calls about people struggling on those sidewalks. I'm just wondering, how come they're lumped together? How come they're not split, separate? Or is it just, this is the pot for all the sidewalks?
Yeah.
And we just, okay. Okay, no, that's fine.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move right along.
Fleet replacements, so this year we're looking to replace 2 pickup trucks that are beyond or at their 10-year expected useful life. It's the 2014 and 2016 GMC Sierras. And we're looking to replace the 2015 Jeep with a vehicle for municipal ops staff, so that'll be for like the manager and the coordinators to use.
Questions? Councilor Hart, Councilor Harris.
Wheels haven't fallen off.
That's what I'm saying. I'm out there right now, that's what I'm talking about. With a 2003 Ford Ranger over there, that's, anyways. Yeah, I saw that. $100. So, I wanna start with the one sentence that says add one. So
Well,
add a new vehicle to our fleet, like a new asset, not a replacement?
It's not a new asset, it's replacing the Jeep with like a truck, so we're moving from a Jeep to a truck.
How old's the Jeep?
It's 2015.
And this all circles back to where we want to see our capital budget at the end of this year. And if we want to spend our capital budget down to the $200,000 range, so be it. You know, in the end of the day, to me, it's, you can only spend what you got. And as long as we're not gonna be down the road next year or the year after with our hands in our taxpayers' pocket, spend it all. As long as we're not gonna be putting our hands in our taxpayers' pocket in a year or two down the road. But if we're trying to save money, so we're not, so we have to spend on other things, I'd say put it off. Now I know personal vehicles I've always been able to maintain, and I know through government, of course, we gotta pay people to do that. Now, vehicles that new, may I ask what the repair cost is getting to be on these vehicles?
The Jeep is almost to the stage where we can't use it anymore.
Can you explain?
It's just,
Wheels go.
yeah, the wheels are about to fall off.
Okay,
That Jeep is in rough shape.
I know maybe not everybody around this table may have worked on cars since they could walk, but I mean, something's gotta be pretty, especially that new, it's, I find it hard to believe, because even if you could replace the motor in something, unless you have to replace the motor, the transmission, the rear end, I would sooner see this get put off. Maybe we do gotta replace it, but that's what I'm asking now, is it to the point where the motors get replaced, the transmissions get replaced?
Well, you want to speak?
Sure.
I was gonna say something, but if you're gonna say it, go ahead.
I would just, thanks, Councilor Hare, I would just say that every municipality follows tangible capital assets processes and policies. And when you have vehicles that are 10 years, every municipality in this province would say it's time to replace it. Because the operating costs, maintenance exceeds what it costs to buy a new, and the efficiency of a new vehicle. So, and I won't even get into the safety aspect of it, but I will say, at 10 years, we should be replacing vehicles automatically. And I would also add that if there's life left in that vehicle, we will dispose of it and sell it and receive any finances back that we can put towards the vehicle.
If you wanna buy one in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm allowed to.
Yes.
Okay.
But I know,
The point is here is like, as much as we understand what you're saying, and what we would like to be the same way, we can.
And I understand it all
doesn't fall under
too.
the same category.
I am saying that if we're trying to have money left over in our capital budget, where are we doing it from? This would be something that, you know, we don't wanna kick things down the road, but, now I guess the follow-up on that is, if the asset was disposed of, where does the residuals, what reserve does the residuals go to?
It would go to capital.
It would go back to capital? Yeah.
We don't have a specific reserve for vehicles.
I'm just, you know, that's why I asked.
All right, Deputy Warden.
Thank you. Well, that was insightful. But I can speak personally about these two vehicles anyway. So, the Jeep and that thing we call animal patrol truck or whatever, I had great pleasure
Oh, yeah.
during the fire to drive both those vehicles with the warden back and forth. And there's a reason we took those two vehicles to an active fire. Because if something happened, like if I ran over a spike or whatever, it is what it is. But these vehicles are beyond. And once you get into vehicles, we have to really think about personal versus government versus employer-employee, where I see this under a safety capacity and not a, this is a need and not a want, around safety for various things. Just like I mentioned once before, I get the pleasure of signing a lot of the checks, and I question constantly when we see repairs on vehicles, because every 2 weeks when I go to look through that list and I see vehicle such and such, vehicle such and such, the same vehicles time and time again, the same tractors, whatever, we are spending an astronomical amount of money on them. And those two vehicles really aren't that safe. You know, I know they put new brakes on the truck, but that was the least of its concerns.
What do you consider my vehicle to be?
Non-admissible either.
Right.
And, you know, we're all in different situations, we're all in different financial situations, we all drive different things. And how we choose to do stuff personally in our own life is completely different than what we do here. You know. So I support this, and I believe that we really should. And we also got to think that because we have fleet insurance, once a vehicle reaches 10 years, premium for those vehicles tend to go up under fleet insurance because of the risk. And that also has to be considered. We actually have cheaper insurance if you have a newer fleet. That's why most industries, even government, look into replacing vehicles or leasing vehicles. That way it's a constant turnover. So I support this. I see it as a safety thing. There's other things we can look on here to save money that's not safe related. But for these vehicles, I support.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Welch, Councillor Cranston.
Just to follow up with the deputy warden, I'm just wondering if there's any benefit to the county leasing vehicles as opposed to purchasing them.
No.
Have we ever looked at that?
Yeah, we looked at that.
I'm not sure if they've looked at it in the past, but we can look into it, for sure.
You're just moving the expense from the capital to the
Yeah.
operating.
Exactly,
But then you have to remember when the lease is up to remove it from the operating budget.
for sure.
I've seen budgets that leases have been carried forward for 15, 20 years. The vehicle is paid off in 7.
No.
Okay.
Just curiosity,
Go ahead.
it would just to see whether or not it's an option for us to explore, because if we're rotating, because then we could rotate our vehicle every 2 or 3 years.
right? So then we're always driving new vehicles, keeps our premiums down, and we're not having to worry about repairs so much, potentially.
And the piece that I got from that is she said if we did that, we would have to move it from capital to operating, is that what you said, Mr. Wills?
Gonna pay for it somewhere.
That's an interesting thought.
If I may, there's pluses and minuses to it for sure. And it probably, from my experience, it comes down to the particular vehicle and whether it's being driven a lot of kilometers or not, or, if it's something that's not used as much as a, public works truck is driving from one end of the county to the other, leasing is probably not a great option, but absolutely something we can check.
We lease our vehicles for the business, and because we've been with the same leaser for so many years, there tend to be a little bit more lenient on mileage and scuffs and stuff too, so.
Okay, keep that in mind. And Mr. Cratchit?
Yeah, I support having a equipment replacement plan. Much like I said about infrastructure and capital replacement in general, everybody should have life cycles, and with that, it's coming from somebody that may give Jesse a run on how long I like to stretch my own vehicle. So, but there's a business case for it. The thing I want to bring, and I'm only bringing this up because it is something I hear a lot of. It's not necessarily my own reflective opinion, but I'm all right with the replacement plan, but I just want to be sure that we have the appropriate fleet for what our needs. So if all these vehicles are actively needed, because one of the most common gripes that I'm sure we all hear from taxpayers, it is the amount of new equipment we have floating around. Particularly when we see subcontracting some stuff, that's a common thing I have that ties into your next line item. So for me, I have no problem replacing it at the end of the life cycle, but I just want to be sure that the need to have the asset in the first place has been adequately met. So in the case of the Jeep, I have no problem replacing it. You're saying it's not usable. So for me, when the obvious question is, well, then are we using it? Do we even need it? So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Thank you. And Councilor Hare, I did see you.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, if we did want to look into the leasing option, which I'd love to entertain, is it possible to do it in time for this budget season? Because once we buy new vehicles, well, then it's going to be 10 years before we're looking at it again. So that's my first question. Just for these vehicles, though. If that one can be answered, is that a possibility to look into where you're making a full decision this early?
So the only thing I would say is that, again, we don't have that in operating, so, and I don't know what it costs to lease a truck or whatever it is. I'm not sure where we'd find that in operating, because the operating is quite tight. The only thing we would do is take out some of the money that we were gonna add to the reserves, and this is exactly what we would bring back to you. We would say, okay, we can't put $1 million in reserves. I don't know, what would it cost to lease a truck, 10 grand a year? Just as a number. Let's just say that's a number. I mean, so if we have to lease 2 or 3 vehicles at 10 grand a year minimum, I mean, that's 30 grand. So that's 30 grand we're not putting into our reserves.
Okay, just for information, because maybe we don't need to put as much money into our operational reserves. If we're trying to keep up our capital reserves. And the other thing is, off of Councilor Cranton's point of the Jeep, what would the county do if we didn't replace the Jeep and we just disposed of the Jeep?
Right now, we use it like as a spare. So when the truck is down or in the shop getting repairs, they'll use that Jeep. So in order to better utilize it, we were looking to use it for the manager that's starting in a couple of weeks. And we don't have a vehicle right now for a municipal ops coordinator. So they would use it, plus it would still be available as a spare in the fleet.
What I would add to that too is that when you don't have a vehicle for staff, we're paying their mileage. So again, you know, Paul and I went and looked at infrastructure a few weeks ago, and I mean, we drove, you know, around, because there's things that I hadn't seen yet. And that's, you know, so that goes back to a mileage check, so that cost gets removed and gets added to a vehicle per se.
And, okay, but if it's not being used right now, I guess the plan is it will be used in the future, but if it's not being used right now, well, maybe in its current use, it would be cheaper to pay for mileage. Now, if what we're being told is it's gonna be the other way, where it's gonna be used. If it's sitting, then nobody's using it.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm saying if it's sitting, right now,
Mileage don't cost more than replacement.
but if it's not moving, nobody's using it, we wouldn't be paying mileage if it's not being used right now.
It's not being used because it doesn't work. So we're paying mileage.
So we are paying mileage.
Yes.
If-
So somebody's using their personal car and getting mileage.
Okay, let's move on from here. I think we beat that one. Oh, Councilor Aguilar?
I just want to say, having spent a lot of years of my career in the automotive industry, when you make a decision to lease, you're making a decision basically forever, right? Unless at the end of the 4 or 5 year term, you decide, well, this is not for me, and then you buy again. When you purchase it, and typically you don't amortize a purchase like this over forever, right? After 5 or 6 years, or if you pay cash, it's paid off, but you're just building up the reserve again. And so then you have a number of years that are not making those $10,000 or $1,200 a month payment on the pickup, which is what you'd be doing if you lease. So when you make the decision to lease, it's like forever,
You're trying to end that.
or good.
Thank you, Councilor. I think we're done, we can go on. Carol, you almost done?
Trailers. All right, so this is to replace the current paving trailer that we have in Bridgetown right now, because we looked at it and it needs some repairs, and it's actually cheaper to replace the trailer than what it is to fix the repairs that it needs. And in addition, it will be to ask for a new 16-foot enclosed trailer to be stocked with water and sewer repair materials and tools. And often, when we get water breaks and we need to, or sewer line breaks, the crews don't always know like the size and types of pipes that are in those areas, and they spend a lot of time sometimes going back and forth to the shops for tools and materials. So if we had a trailer that's ready to go, we can take it with us and we'll have the materials on site when we go.
We have a question from Deputy Warden.
Sorry, that's only question. I 100% agree and support about the water situation. Wasting time and money to go back and forth. I've always questioned and spoke to your predecessor why we don't have one, so thank you for doing that. The question I have is around the paving trailer. Didn't we buy one last year?
Not a paving trailer, no. The trailer we bought last year was like a bigger trailer for moving like the loader and the excavator.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Equipment
Buy
trailer.
into it.
Okay, but I mean, all right, the way it was sold was that it was gonna be for that and to support the paving operations and da. But thank you for the clarity. So this is the smaller 16-footer flatbed.
This is a smaller one where they set up the tack machine and they take the roller with them and all their towls and
That
stuff.
can be towed with the half ton or 3/4 ton.
Okay, anybody else, questions there? No, seeing none? All right.
Sewer jetter trailer. So this is a piece of equipment that's for cleaning and maintaining our sewer lines. It uses high pressure water to clean grease, sludge, roots, and debris from sewer lines. Completing this maintenance on an annual basis improves the flow within the lines, prevents buildup and blockages that cause damage to properties, infrastructure, and pumps. The trailer option provides a more affordable option over truck-mounted jetter units, and it can be used in a wide range of pipes and sizes and types.
Okay, questions on that? Deputy Warden and
Sorry.
Councilor Welsh.
Is that a service we contract now, or do we already have?
No, right now we only do like jetting if there is a blockage.
But this is us trying to be proactive.
Who else?
Is that just for the main lines?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be into residential homes or
No.
anything like that? Just one.
Councillor Connell?
So for a 16-foot enclosure, you get down 30,000.
That's the 16-foot enclosed and to replace the paving trailers. That's 2 trailers.
And 165,000 you're gonna pay for a trailer for the jetter.
That's the jetter as well. It's the whole machine.
It's everything, equipment and trailer.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say 165,000.
It's a nice trailer.
I'm gonna tell you, it would be chrome. You wouldn't mind well. So I got a 20-foot with heavy axles, and I know I didn't get close to that.
You wanna see this trailer that's
I
on
wanna see
65,000, okay, I got you.
Golden trailer.
Who's next, anybody? No? Okay, we have one last thing.
Sewer inspections. So most of our infrastructure is aging, and we need to start prioritizing areas that are in need of maintenance, renewals, and upgrades. Regular inspections can identify issues like root intrusions and blockages that help prioritize maintenance and plan for rehabilitation. So we're aiming to complete an area each year, depending on available budget, and starting now helps us identify areas that will require renewals so that projects can be ready when funding is available.
Questions? None, look at that. You made the last one free. Okay. All right. Now we have questions, I think everything that was budget. And I know you've thought of different things that you'd like to have put motions on. I think it's, unless you have other questions to ask before we take a break, so that you can look at making proper motions, and there's people around this table that can help you prepare your motion, to be sure. No other questions? Okay, we'll take a break for 15 minutes. thumbs up. But